Hello, welcome to Adventure Savvy. I'm Andrew Thomas Price, and today we're covering the subject of knives. To begin with, what makes a good knife? Now, I've seen all sorts of things turn up on survival courses, everything from this sort of thing, which is your Fairbairn Sykes Commando dagger. Literally really is just for killing people, so not much use for that on a bushcraft course. The other types of knives we see turning up range from the sort of Rambo style survival knives with an enormous blade, saw back edge, hollow handle, that sort of thing. Other things we see, this sort of thing, machetes, perfect for what they're intended for, which is hacking through brush, brambles, that sort of thing. Very limited in their use beyond that, so things like bushcraft where you're using it for a multitude of different things, that's not the most versatile tool for the job. Another example of a large blade is the Nepali Gurkha kukri. Fantastic tool, given that it's intended as a heavy chopping tool. Very, very thick, as you can see. However, it's such a big blade, it can be a little bit tricky to use for fine carving tasks and things. So for bushcraft, for the majority of bushcraft tasks, I would go for something a little bit more compact than that. The sort of knife that's become popular in bushcraft, certainly since I've been involved, is the Scandi grind. Now, Scandi grind means Scandinavian. It's a flat ground blade, so you have a blade that is ground in such a way that it's completely flat all the way to the cutting edge. Knives that are typical for that would be the Scandinavian or Finnish Puukko. Excellent little knife that. The knives that Ray Mears has made very popular, a drop point blade, also with a Scandi grind, and probably the most popular of all the bushcraft knives, we use them a lot for our bushcraft courses, is the Mora clipper, Frost's Mora from Sweden, and the clipper knife has become ubiquitous right throughout the bushcraft world. Very, very useful tool. It comes in several different forms. This is the version that we tend to use. It's about a 4-inch blade, Scandi ground. The ones we use for work generally are the stainless steel variety. We also have carbon steel knives as well, and I would always tell people if they're planning on buying a knife for themselves, go for a carbon steel because it's easy to sharpen. So provided that you have the time to maintain it and keep it in good condition, carbon is always preferable to stainless. The exception would be if you're spending a lot of time on the coast near the sea where you've got the salt water marine environment which will just eat a carbon steel knife alive. Stainless is a good option then. The types of knives we have here, I've got a few. This is one I designed myself, made by Will Adams of Bushblade. This is a modified Bowie style clip point blade. It also has a Scandi grind, and I wanted a slightly bigger knife, so this is one that I specifically asked for. However, the knife I seem to use more often than not these days is this bush tool by Rob Evans, so I kind of fluctuate between using these two knives. Both of them have a Scandi grind. The bush tool by Rob Evans has a slightly shorter blade, so both excellent tools anyway. We have the Ray Mears Allen Wood here, one of the original knives that Ray Mears designed. Fantastic tool, and it's also become something of the standard style of bushcraft knives, and it's quite hard sometimes to get people to look at other blade shapes and things, but really a fantastic tool, just about the right size. Wooden handle, fits the hand perfectly. Excellent. The only downside to these is the cost, which is formidable. It's my retirement plan, this one. This one, also made by Frost's of Mora. Now, this is very much a carving knife. Could use it for other things, but it's a very, very thin, long blade, very, very pointy, specifically designed for carving wood. Very handy if you're spoon carving or doing that sort of work where you need to be doing very fine work. Also a Scandi grind, extremely fine edge. You wouldn't want to abuse it or use it for anything other than woodwork. Then we get into the survival knives. So we're going slightly away from bushcraft here into the realms of a general purpose survival knife. Now, a survival knife is trying to do everything. So it's intended to be used for everything from cutting a piece of string right through to butchering a deer. Potentially even sort of hacking down small trees. So you're looking for a slightly bigger bladed knife, a bit more weight to it. This is one I've had for years, the SOG Government, no longer in production, but it doesn't have the Scandi grind, so it actually has what we call a double bevel. That means you have the flat part of the blade here, then you have a change of angle, and then you have a secondary change of angle of probably 2 or 3 millimeters before the cutting edge. The advantage of that is if you're butchering a deer and you happen to hit the pelvis or anything harder than the steel, you will take a chunk out of the blade of a Scandi grind. With this sort of knife, you've got a thicker cutting edge, less likely to take a big chunk out of it. We've got the Falkniven S1 Pro. The F1 and the S1, particularly the Pro models, have been designed specifically for professional survival instructors like myself. So brilliant knives. They don't have a Scandi grind, which is unusual. What they have is a slightly rolled edge. So instead of being flat ground like that, the edge is slightly rolled. Now the advantage of that is it's much easier to sharpen, especially in the field if you've only got a small compact sharpening stone. Sharpening something we'll cover in the future. But a very, very versatile knife. It was actually designed originally as a survival knife for aircrew and the military personnel. So a good choice for general purpose. So not really intended as a wood carving knife, but very, very good as a general purpose survival tool. So the F1, the S1 and the A1, all good choices. So at some point in the series we'll be going back to look at these again. Thank you for watching this episode of Adventure Savvy. I hope you've enjoyed it. So stay safe and stay savvy.